Just a quick note before we get started, this is an in-depth look into specifically Boris Johnson's environmental positions. It isn't a complete audit on the man himself and all his policies. For that, we recommend watching John Oliver's video. Here's a quick background on Boris and why he's currently Prime Minister, in case you haven't been keeping up with the news. On May 24th, Prime Minister Theresa May announced that she would resign from her position and officially resign on July 24th. Now, the leader of the country is stepping down in the UK invokes a different process than the United States. In the United States, the Vice President takes over. However, in the UK, there's actually no official position of Prime Minister. It's just kind of a tradition they have. No, seriously, look it up. When the Prime Minister steps down, the King or Queen appoints a person to that position who has the best chance of unifying Parliament. This is typically the leader of the majority party, which in this case was Boris Johnson. It's close though, because Johnson's voting bloc only has a one-vote majority in Parliament. However, a majority is a majority, and so that's why he's Prime Minister now. Anyway, on to the rest of the video. First off, as Boris Johnson is the leader of the Conservative Party, it is important to see what the environmental viewpoint of his party is. In general, the Conservative Party is actually closer to the Democrats in America than the Republicans. They're ideologically kind of in between these two parties. For example, they support offshore wind, want to plant 1 million trees, have an actual 25-year environmental plan, and they want to get to net zero emissions by 2050. Impressive. However, they do have some downsides, including support for natural gas extraction, the Green Party calling their environmental plan, quote, desperately disappointing and fluffy, and they tend to be a bit more cautious on their time goals, which is problematic since time is ticking to act on all environmental issues. Alright, so let's get into the real reason why you clicked on this video. What is Boris Johnson's environmental policy? Well, he doesn't have much. Searching environment on his Wikipedia page brings up literally no results, and climate only brings up 1. He hasn't tweeted or posted about it recently, and seems to not care. However, in times like these, not caring has the same impact as being malicious. Greenpeace protesters seem to agree with that statement based on how they blockaded his car on his way to Buckingham Palace. Let's go back a few years, 9 years ago in fact, to when he was interviewed at the Copenhagen Climate Summit. This was 2009, when Boris Johnson was mayor of London. During this conference, he advocated for personal consumer action and green consumerism. He was also hesitant to call out big corporations and rich people for being part of the problem. In specific, here's a clip of him talking about restricting gas guzzler cars.
Look, I understand where you're coming from. You feel viscerally. I'm unable to feel the same sort of hatred of rich people that I know other people do.
It's not a hatred of rich people, it's a hatred of these massive, disproportionate carbon emissions that some people are producing.
I understand the emotion. All I'm saying is I think there are more productive ways of reducing CO2 rather than getting wrapped up in a sort of class struggle rhetoric on people driving Porsches.
Watching this video makes me realize how horrible American politicians are in interviews because, although I disagree with Boris, at least he stayed relatively on point. Here's him talking about the best way to mitigate climate change.
Shouldn't we be giving them a kick?
That's a very interesting question. Should we be attacking people just for having expensive possessions?
No, just I'm producing a massive carbon footprint way above what most people produce. Shouldn't we be doing that?
I think that it's much more profitable, as I argue, to encourage people to greatly to reduce their carbon emissions with the sense that in so doing they can better themselves and better their lives. And you know as well as I do, the big savings in London are to be made not with vehicular transport, though we're going to have a revolution in London with electric vehicles, but the big savings are to be made initially on domestic and commercial and business properties.
I'll let you decide if you agree with him or not. The full video is in the description below. I will say it is a bit hypocritical of him to argue for green consumerism and personal choices when pictures like these are floating around. Come on, man. 3 water bottles, just get a reasonable one. It's super easy. Anyway, let's move on. What's that one quote? You are who you surround yourself with, or something like you become who you surround yourself with? Well, who does Boris Johnson surround himself with? People like Theresa Villiers, a pro-fracking climate delayer. She's voted against key legislation fighting climate change, such as setting a target for carbon emissions and obtaining a permit for fracking. Not only does Boris Johnson associate himself with her, but he appointed her as the Environmental Secretary of the United Kingdom. She's Britain's own Scott Pruitt or even Andrew Wheeler. Finally, the main figurehead for progressive politics in the UK is Jeremy Corbyn. Continuing on the theme of association, Corbyn has said that Boris's relation with Trump proves very dangerous for the environment in return for short-term economic gains. In specific, he said that, quote, since Johnson has no plans to do anything to protect the environment and is closely aligned with Donald Trump, who claims that the Paris climate change accords are a danger to the American economy, and that is a kind of signal to other industrial economies, Well, your short-term economic interests come ahead of the longer-term environmental issues. To conclude, Boris Johnson is a terrible prime minister to have with all these environmental crises that we face. He advocates for a green economy and reducing plastic, but assigned an anti-environment secretary to the position of environmental protection and has made little personal attempts to be more eco-friendly. For this alone, I believe he should resign, and he should resign today. And we haven't even gotten into Brexit's impact on the environment. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. As always, you can find more information in the description down below. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to Ecocentric. It really helps us out. If you want us to make an eco audit on Brexit, let us know in the comments down below. Well, that's all for me. That's your turn to save the world. See you next week.